Hey everybody, welcome to the Horror Syndicate Discourse. It is Wednesday night. It is 6:35, which we go about 5 minutes after 6:30 because why not? Anyway, I'm Ray, and I'm here in a different kind of location. I moved everything around in the horror room a little bit. I like the setup a little bit better this way, and we'll see how it goes. Um, First things first, I want to mention that you need to get over and check out, if you don't already, thehorrorsyndicate.com. We have, I don't know how many people actually know that we have a website, but we have tons of articles up, and we're throwing out all kinds of new stuff the last few days, and we're going to keep going. I just watched the night Evelyn came out of the grave last night. I've seen it before. I really like it. And then I'm doing a top tens list. 1950s edition went up today. Seth did the Underworld franchise rankings. I did the top 10 of the 30s. Seth did a review of Martin, and there's a lot of other stuff that we do that you may not know about. So check out thehorrorsyndicate.com because not everybody does for some reason. Also, if you're watching us on YouTube or if you've never been to our YouTube channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can check out our videos. If you can't see them live, you can watch them later on YouTube, or also hit the like button. Or you can, just watch them here on Facebook if that's where you're watching, wherever you're watching. Anyway, before we get into everything, we're talking about In the Mouth of Me because I'm can't seem to, talk apparently. Anyway, we're talking about In the Mouth of Madness tonight, the last of the John Carpenter End of the World trilogy, if you will. We talked about Prince of Darkness last week. We talked about The Thing a couple of weeks ago, and so now we're talking about the last one, and I believe this is Seth's favorite John Carpenter movie. So before that, I do want to talk about and give a shout out to some lovely people that I've known for quite a long time. Richard and Hannah Kruger. They have a shop in Troy, Illinois, but they also have an online store. And I'll hold on, I'll put that up right now so you can do that. So they got a good deal going for everybody. But it's Kruger's Curiosities, and the logo's over my face. Oh no! But they have a shop in Troy, Illinois, and they've got all kinds of like mystical kind of wares and stuff like that, things that you wouldn't know. And you can, if you want stuff, you can get them online at krugerscuriosities.com. But I got some pictures here that you can see some of the things they sell, like sage and other weird stuff. Lotions, maybe. And plus, it's very community driven. They they really like are all about community, which I'll get more into that in just a second. They There's more stuff here. They've got these great 20-ounce tumblers that they can print almost anything on. I've actually got an Unparalleled Comics one, which is my comic book company, and you can get a Horror Syndicate one, and they're gearing up for the spooky season too, so you can get some spooky season stuff too. Kruger's Curiosities, that's it. That's the name of the place. Check them out online. And the cool thing is, if you buy something from them, you get and use the code THS 15, which is the Horror Syndicate 15. You get 15% off a purchase, and you can also get Horror Syndicate stuff there, like T-shirts. You can get a Horror Syndicate tumbler, keychains, all kinds of different stuff. Just tell them that you want the Horror Syndicate logo on it, which we've got many, and you'll get 15% off your order. The other cool thing is they're doing something that I feel like this is out of the brain of Richard. But he's doing something where you ever heard of pick a book, leave a book? Well, he's doing this thing where if you're local, this is for local people, they have an old newspaper, whatever, dispenser. And what it is, there's movies in there, DVDs and Blu-rays and VHS, believe it or not. And you take one and put one in there that you bring to, it's like a free rental thing. It's really cool. And their library has grown so much from very small, maybe like 10 or 15 titles, to all of that, and plus what's in the actual can. So really cool stuff. Check out Kruger's Curiosities. They're on Facebook. The Kruger's, I'm wearing the shirt actually. Kruger's Video, they're on Facebook as well. If you're local to my area, Troy, near St. Louis, check it out. It's not that far from St. Louis. And then also Richard does on the side, not on the side, he does a lot actually. Repairotech. He repairs computers and other stuff. I think he may have dabbled in video game equipment. I don't know. That's my body, by the way, and my car. How about that? So anyway, Cruise Curiosities, check them out. They're good people. I like them for the most part. No, I like them a lot. They're good. They're really good people. But tonight we're going to get into In the Mouth of Madness. And I got to get the Cruise Curiosities thing off there. There you go. And I'm going to bring in Seth and Jared, and Nate may be joining us later. I'm not sure. Okay. Guys, how you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
I wasn't going to answer
that's
first.
a story
but
for
I'm
another
doing
day.
swell.
Jared, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing swell.
Are you?
Not really. I'm okay though.
Yeah, I'm actually not doing well at all, but that's okay. That's neither here nor there. We're going to be
That's
talking
what we're
about, huh?
That's what we commune and
Look,
get together
15%
for.
off. You can get one of these with the Horror Syndicate logo. Just saying. Anybody who goes and shops at their
Does it
wares.
keep your drink really cold?
It does actually. I put ice in there at the beginning of the day, and I refill the water on top of the ice throughout the day, and it keeps it. Yeah, it's. I got this about a month and a half ago, and I've used it every day since. And I had stopped buying bottles of water. I have a filter, and yeah, it works really well. Am I glitching?
No, you're just a little blurry. But see, that's the thing about those kind of glasses. You don't ever get those glasses that keep your drinks cold for very long, and if they do, they keep them cold, and then you drink more, and then you run out of drinks, but you don't have that perfect medium.
Yes.
I just bought some fucking bottles for back to school stuff. Like, it's supposed to keep your drink cold for 74 hours. I'm like, what? Is that even fucking necessary? Sorry.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know why. It's acting like I'm on Wi-Fi. I'm not on Wi-Fi. I'm on I don't know. It was storming here earlier. Who knows what the problem is? Anyway, so guys, In the Mouth of Madness. Where does it rank on your list of John Carpenter movies?
On that thought, I'll be right back.
Okay, Seth, I know where it ranks on your list, so go ahead. Tell us all about how much you love In the Mouth of Madness.
Yeah, it is my favorite Carpenter movie, which isn't, I guess, a popular choice. But I've loved it ever since I saw it. I saw it when I was for the first time when I was really starting to get into John Carpenter, and when I was starting to kind of learn more about filmmaking, and also at the time too, I was big on reading books, especially Stephen King. I like some Lovecraft stuff, so like the concept behind it really kind of grabbed me. And it's a movie that I can watch like anytime. It's never gotten old, and yeah, I love a lot about it.
Yes, we know. You all right, Jared?
I had to run around the house real quick. I'm back.
Why?
Because I had to get my thoughts in order.
Your daily workout?
Yeah. Okay.
All right, you good? All right, tell us your experience about In the Mouth of Madness. Do you remember seeing it for the first time?
Yeah. It would have been like 10, 11 years ago on VHS.
Yeah.
Oh, not even. No, it would have been way longer than that. This would have been like 20 years ago then.
Yeah.
Oh, God. It would have been like 10 years before I got it on DVD, I guess.
I was going to say maybe even 30 years ago if you think about
it. But no, actually, I think I know we've covered these movies over the last couple of weeks, but Prince of Darkness and In the Mouth of Madness are probably my least viewed of his quote-unquote horror films. I think I've even seen Invisible Man more than I've seen Prince of Darkness, which is sad.
I haven't seen that in forever.
It's a good one. I like it. Chevy Chase is always great. Anyways, no, I was actually having a hard time remembering the first time that I saw it, and I was watching it today, and it just like, I was like, I knew what to expect, and then I knew what to expect, and every time I kept seeing the long-haired kid drive by on his bicycle, I just kept seeing John Carpenter driving on the bicycle.
Yeah, I can see that.
He kind of looks like that now.
Yeah, it kind of does. Yeah. Yeah. Wasn't that little Anakin Skywalker? Didn't that Nate say that or something?
Hayden Christensen was the boy at the end, I think, on the
Oh,
boat.
was at the end? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Which boy at the end?
It's
on the bike.
It's towards the end, like right after he finally escapes Hobbs End, and he.
Oh, the paper boy.
Yeah, the paper boy on the bike there. Yep.
What? He was a blondie.
He's kind of blondie in the Star Wars too.
I did not even. I'm usually really good at faces like that, but that's pretty cool.
I didn't notice it either, man. So I wouldn't even worry about it.
No, but God, I need to turn my notifications down. But after rewatching it again today, like I literally have not seen that movie in well over a decade, and I fucking love that movie.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
There are parts of it, you know, I've only seen that movie a handful of times that, you know, I don't really necessarily put together and understand completely because I haven't seen it a lot. But, you know, from what I gathered, like I guess we can get into that once that we get into the actual descriptions of the movie. But, you know, there were some parts that I didn't totally understand.
Yeah, I think part of it is because the movie kind of plays out almost as if it's it's you're like almost in a like you can't tell if you're in a dream, if it's real, if it's like
it feels like a Twilight Zone episode, really.
Almost, yeah. So it's there's a definite dreamlike quality, especially when they're driving to Hobbs End. I'm getting angry about my connection, just so you guys know. But yeah.
So before we get into the meat and potatoes, can I just mention a couple of the fun facts that I noticed just watching it again today?
Yeah.
The chick from Fright Night 2, I didn't realize that was Styles. I was like, oh, I remember her. And then we get a wonderful suicide by Vigo the Carpathian.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh my God, I know that guy.
Yeah, that's how I was when I was watching. Like, who is that? He looks so familiar.
But that's all I had just from my
just the two things.
And just really quickly.
Well, since this is Seth's favorite Carpenter film, I really want to get into his brain and let's talk about.
Well, because he might give me some insight on what I missed.
Oh yeah, Richard just said he's Vigo. Richard just said the storm has impacted local internet. So cool. Thanks, Storm. Is it Storm from the X-Men?
Fuck you, Thunder.
Anyway, let's Seth. Let's get into this. Let's break it down, starting with like some of the things I know. I know you've got things to say about it.
Okay. You got anything specific?
Let's start with the beginning. Let's talk about the main character.
Okay.
John Trent.
Yeah, Sam Neill plays John Trent. When we start the movie, he's being carried into an institution, and the movie is mostly him telling his tale to David Warner's character,
who we recently lost.
Yeah. Yep. And so we see. So the whole movie is really about the transition of his character going from one specific way to the way that we first met him in the movie. And when we first met him, he was very frenzied, very chaotic, believed in a lot of crazy stuff that no one believed in. But when we go back to when he tells his tale in the beginning, we see him from a different perspective. He's very cynical. He doesn't believe in very much. He's very suspicious of people. I mean, he even talks in the movie about how he'd bust someone that he knew, and it's no different. Everything's all about the con to him. Yeah. And so he's kind of like a tough character to crack. And even as stuff is happening throughout the movie, he still doesn't initially believe it at first. I mean, for the majority of the time that he's in Hobbs End, he's very convinced that it's all set up, you know. So John Trent is a character who we see, I guess, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, some movies do it where they kind of start with something that happens towards the end, and then they go back. So, but there is a character arc with him because of the way that chronologically in this story he starts off one way, like I said, very cynical, very hard, very tough to crack, always looking for the con, to being someone who believes in some really crazy shit. And there's a lot to get into with that stuff too, but I don't know.
Yeah, and one of the things I like about him is you can tell that he enjoys the thrill of the hunt, if you will, or the thrill of the chase or whatever it is.
Yeah, he's all about the job.
Yeah, he really is. Like, I like the scene when he's reading the books, and also I love how he is just very dismissive of the books being just books,
Mm-hmm.
But even though the guy's agent, tried to kill him with an axe right at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
With the weirdest voice, but that's something I want to talk about. That voice that did you read Sutter Cane? Like, that sounded like a robotic voice to me.
It was kind of robotic.
Yeah.
Did you read Sutter Cane?
Yeah. But Sam Neill is really good in this. This is one of my favorite roles for him.
Same here.
Yeah, he's really damn good. What?
I was going to say, this is probably my favorite performance of his, other than maybe Event Horizon.
Yeah.
I mean, I love him as Grant in the original Jurassic Park. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. Everybody remembers him the most for that character, but I think this is his best exposition of the different ways he can act in one movie.
Yeah. He plays such a fun character in this, like I love some of the attitude he has, like kind of towards the end where he's in the church pew and Sutter Cane talks about how he's a god or something like that, and he just he goes, well, anyway, your books suck, I love that.
Yeah. He said something about like more people enjoy my books more than the Bible. He's like, so what's your point?
Yeah.
What is the
same thing with Lord of the Rings, if you want to get technical, but whatever. Yeah, I mean, like, that's one of the big takeaways from this movie that I got watching it. And I watch it at least once a year, not as often as Seth, who watches it I think 365 times a year. Pretty close.
Sounds about right.
Ballpark.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's one of my favorite things, though, is how good Sam Neill is in this movie and that character. That's why I was like, I asked you guys, what's your favorite top 10 culture leading men? Because, like, you got Jack Burton, you got Sam Loomis, you got all these guys, and I'm like, God, Sam Neill's got to be one of the best as Trent, in my opinion. But I don't know. I like it. I love the character. I love the way he deals with Styles, and then his descent into madness, of course, because it's in the mouth of madness. Yeah, it's good stuff. Sam Neill. Nate, I don't know. Nate should be here in like 15 minutes or something like that. But anyway, I love Sam Neill. God, better than Jurassic Park, better than The Omen 3. But yeah, even the supporting cast is really good. I don't know the name of the actor that plays Sutter Cane, but
Jürgen Prochnow.
Yeah.
Where's he been? He was fantastic, and his everything about him, his look, especially when he's in the doorway of that church.
Yeah,
it fits. They cast it so good in this movie. From Styles to even the editor, what's his name? The gun guy, Charlton Heston.
Yeah.
The gun guy, sorry. He is a gun guy, right?
Yeah.
Not a Gungan like in Star Wars.
I
don't think I've seen Daybreakers all the way through. Anyway.
Oh, Daybreakers is great.
Write a review.
It's on my list.
HorrorSyndicate.com, blowing up. Anyway.
Got a very Blade feel, but Daybreakers is good.
Is it?
Yeah.
I'll take your word for it, Jared, my good man. Anyway, I don't want to get like too deep into the story until Nate gets here, and then of course when Nate gets here, we will do his reviews, his Amazon reviews, because those are always fun. But I do want to start getting into some of the things of the stories. First of all, I think there's a big ass mistake in not producing these books, like Hobbs and Horror. I'd like to read that. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, Who I know Seth would. I mean, Jared, would you read those books?
I think that might have been a marketing thing that John Carpenter missed out on when this movie
I think
was
so too.
released. Like
Tie-in books to go
even if
along
they were
because in the
just
Mouth of
short
Madness.
stories,
Yeah,
even if they were just short stories.
I agree. Because especially with the book covers, they're so cool looking, and the map. Go ahead, Seth.
It would make for a great TV series that they could do.
Agreed.
Like sort of like a tie-in TV series. So it doesn't quite remake In the Mouth of Madness, but like season 1 is the Hobbs End horror. And going with
Leading up
those
to the Mouth of Madness.
leading up to that'd be cool.
Yeah, that's the 5th book, and he outsells Stephen King, by the way, and he's only got 4 books. What the fuck? So let's talk about
I liked how they made a point of saying that in the movie. He
Right,
even outsells
yeah.
Stephen King. So
He even
who else
outsells
is there?
Stephen King. I was like, come on now. That's one of the things I wanted. Let's talk about some of our favorite things about this. And the obvious one for me is Carpenter doing a Lovecraftian type story, which this is probably, and forgive me, Reanimator and Dagon and all these others. This is probably one of the. It's not an actual Lovecraft movie, but it's like one of the best Lovecraft movies ever made.
Feels so Lovecraft.
It does, right? Like I'm not crazy in saying that.
And that
It
was
is
something
like
I
a
was gonna
Lovecraft.
bring up too.
So that's one of my favorite things. And God, is it me or do you want to visit Hobbs End? Like Sam Neill hit the nose, right on the nose, saying that like this would be a great like tourist attraction for all the Sutter Cane fans. Like, yes,
Where is this Russian church in America?
I know. Like,
I want to know.
That church is so
Hampshire.
cool. All right, looks like Nate's walking, so I'll wait till he gets settled in bed.
No, like Ray hit the nail on the head because as soon as I saw that thing with the portal, I was like, this is totally Lovecraftian. Welcome.
Hey, Nate,
Hey.
you ready to do your reviews?
Oh, sure.
We're
He
still
looks
gonna do them.
bedridden like he's in misery. You can
That's
see the
about
head
it.
already.
So it makes sense.
He's drinking
We
from
need
a
to do a
sip
misery.
cup.
You do a misery
have we not
episode.
done misery? We need
All
to do
the
misery.
bedridden
Okay.
movies.
We'll all be in bed
All
for
right,
that
ready?
episode too.
You ready
let's
for?
all do an episode from bed. All right, Nate, you ready for your reviews? Amazon.
I have a decent headboard too. That would be awesome.
All right.
Oh, reviews. Okay, Seth, I am sorry. We're going to read these.
Apology accepted.
Accepted. Okay,
Okay.
I gotta get to them here.
They
I
see.
have a
Agreed.
lot of
Best
cheese.
Lovecraft flick without being a Lovecraft flick. We didn't go too much
Okay.
into the story, Nate. Just to let you know, we were waiting on you a little bit.
All right, 1-star review of In the Mouth of Madness. Better stuff to watch out there. I watched this because my fried said it was good. Never taking a movie recommendation from him again. 1-star review.
From his what?
did his fried.
fried?
He left
Oh,
an
it's
N out of the friend. Yeah.
Oh, I
um,
thought you said bride. I'm like, oh.
My fried.
no judgment here.
1-star review. What did he snort to write this one?
Wow.
1-star review. How could this be John Carpenter? I downloaded the movie based upon the reviews and ratings from IMDb. Next time, I will trust my own instincts about what I rent. This movie was just plain bad. It's hard to tell what is actually happening throughout most of the
That's
movie.
true.
Is it a dream sequence? Is this stuff really taking place? None of it looks believable in any
That's
case.
the point of the
and
fucking movie.
Yeah, it's kind of the point of the movie, yeah.
That's like one of the best things about the movie.
Yeah, none of it looks believable in any case, and I gave the film 55 minutes before I shut it off and turned on TV. The plot was not convincing, the acting over the top, and the writing was not acceptable. It is not horror and not scary. And looks like a
Somebody doesn't know what paranoia is.
student art film made for TV. I don't know how many student fucking art films people have seen, but
I was gonna say John Carpenter did one with Ed O'Bannon.
Yeah, you can go. You want to see what his art
John,
student
I
films
might get
were?
that
You
right
can
with
watch.
Ed O'Bannon.
The one he won an Oscar for, and you'll know. 1 star. Sam Neill is worth it, but this movie sucked. It was so bad. I am a huge fan of Sam Neill's, but this movie is enough to make a cow eater calf. Horrible, stupid. Skip it all together and have the 2 hours to yourself to do something else.
Is it 2 hours?
Disappointing. That's only an hour and a half.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say.
It's actually
It's
very,
a little over an hour and a half.
very refreshing to have a 90-minute horror movie to watch.
Right.
Disappointed. This movie sucked! Exclamation! A lot of exclamation marks.
Oh, come on.
I can't believe that it has such good reviews. The idea for the story is not believable at all. The special effects look very low budget. First of all, who's believing in fantasy?
Star Wars
This-
is very believable. Just saying.
The Star Wars is just not believable. Talking dogs, I can't
Right.
buy it. This movie was made in the 90s after 100 years of filmmaking. Can't they do better than this? This is not horror. This is a bad attempt at making a movie. I can't believe I made myself sit through the entire movie. I kept on hoping the movie would get better the whole time, but it never did! Exclamation! What's wrong with the reviewers of this movie? Question mark. How can anybody think this is good? Total waste of my time! Exclamation! I am definitely going to be more selective of any movie I pick to watch from now on. I can't take a chance on wasting 2 hours of my life on this trash! Exclamation!
Oh,
They did not explain anything other than a bunch of exclamation points.
Not for Carpenter fans.
Jeez.
bullshit.
Bullshit. I give it 1 star for a simple reason. The film lacks all the things that make a Carpenter film distinctive. The atmospheric music, the menacing atmosphere, the way he turns a Western into sci-fi. In the Mouth of Madness is basically a Lovecraftian story in the big screen, and although Lovecraft's tales work on the printed page and in the imagination, they don't work when you show it on screen. Carpenter adapted Lovecraft's ideas brilliantly in The Fog, but in that movie, we never see the face of the monsters. Here, he shows too much, and it doesn't work. I don't blame Carpenter for trying something different, but even Ghosts of Mars or Vampires are better than this. The worst Carpenter movie of all.
He didn't even write this movie.
1 star. More like I wish I hadn't watched it, Madness. This
my God.
movie must have been made too late in the digestive process, because by the time you are done watching, you are convinced that it was in the excrement of madness. For being made in 1995, the special effects were a joke. I've seen better masks at the drugstore during Halloween. Hear that, KMB? The female lead in this movie really killed my interest, but to the title's credit, her acting did make me mad. This had so much potential, but I wish Sutter Cane had written it in better actors, special effects, and directing. Just awful. I thought at first it feels like a movie of the week. I'm gonna skip through because I got more than I thought I had.
What, like Silver Bullet?
Touche.
Well, that's an after-school special, right?
I threw up 1 star. I threw up in my
Like
mouth.
Lucas.
Of madness. I like that one. I'm going to pass. Was this comedy? Not sure if I was supposed to laugh here. I wonder what Sam Neill felt after viewing the finished product. I hope he had a good laugh, pocketed the check, and never let it bother him. Horrible.
Anyway.
I do not know who these reviewers are, but I think they are on crack. The movie is stupid, convoluted, and boring. The scary parts were not scary, and the rest is rambling hodgepodge of trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Bad movie. Don't waste your time on this dog. Don't bother. An absolute stinker of a movie. Heston was in this, so the question that pops in my mind is, what was he thinking? Sucky. Just a sucky movie. Stupid plot, stupid ending, middle too bright either. Just figure Sam Neill needed rent money that month in '95.
After Jurassic Park, really?
Maybe.
I think
It
it's
was right
like
after
the
Jurassic Park.
yeah, I think he was good. This is the last one. In a bout of badness.
What? We'll say that again.
In a bout of badness is the title.
Okay.
While I enjoy Sam Neill's performances, Jurassic Park, Dead Calm, Event Horizon, and John Carpenter, Prince of Darkness, this movie did justice to neither man's talents. The opening came off as contrived, and it took a long time to circle back on what was going on with the plot. There was some throwaway references to H.P. Lovecraft, and maybe they were going for a Lovecraft spectacle, but this wasn't. Dagon and Lighthouse were both better adaptations of Lovecraft's themes. And that's it. I'm done.
Yeah. Let's get into talking about the movie. These people. I do enjoy your reviews, though, Nate. The ones you find, because you come up with some decent ones. And I mean, Seth looks worn out from people bashing his favorite Carpenter. So.
Which is
no, Seth. No.
No. It's supposed to rejuvenate you, sir.
Yeah. Oh man. So first of all, Nate, while you were gone, we talked about John Trent, the character, and how much we really liked Sam Neill as John Trent, the way he played the character, the way the character was. I would like to get a little bit from you on that, if you've got a minute. If you got a minute, like you're gonna go somewhere right now.
Yeah,
I'm here for the reviews. I'm out.
I like Sam Neill, and he's a. I remember when he did Jurassic Park, I was kind of like, "Who is this dude?" Like he's starring in that because I didn't know, Omen movies. And I think I'd seen Dead but on Nicole Kidman in that movie. But I didn't know that guy very well. I hadn't seen Possession or anything like that, so I remember not knowing who he was. So this was almost kind of like my second or third, really, who this actor was. And I do think he's good. I think he captures the "I'm smarter than you" character that he is. Like that's his whole job, is to be smarter and sharper and catch you in your bullshit. And someone who actually really enjoys what he does as well. And he enjoys. He's very kind of arrogant about it.
He's good at his job too.
So and it's kind of one of those things where people talk about likable characters. He's not a hero type, He's kind of more of a, because of his arrogance and because of what he does. He does bust bad people, lying and cheating, but because there's a bit of anti-hero in him. I think he's not exactly warm, but that's what's kind of cool about it. I do like the character, but there's the interesting thing about this movie is that he's not real, and he doesn't have a history, he doesn't have a past, and he is just a character on a page written by a bad horror writer. So that's what's interesting about the film. Once you realize what it is like because there's a lot of things in the movie I don't particularly like right away about it. Some of the scene and some of the things that are structures and things that are going on, but I'm like, at the same time, it's supposed to be written by a shitty horror writer. And it's a novel, so it's jumping around and going all these different things. But I like that John Carpenter said that he kind of gave Sam direction on like Humphrey Bogart playing like Sam Spade, or maybe the other what's the other detective he played, Marlowe. So he definitely wanted to give Sam Neill's character Trent a classic private detective noir feeling, and I think Sam does.
Kind of cocky attitude, yeah.
Yeah, I could see a Bogart. I think at one point he does something that Bogart did, where he what is it, Seth? There's something that he does that was taken from Bogart. It's like flicks his ear or grabs his ear.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did that quite a bit.
Yeah, this was a Bogart thing that he did as I think Marlowe. In shit, I always forget which one it was because he played in the Maltese Falcon and Good Sleep. But I always get them mixed up. But yeah, I dig Sam Neill. I think Sam's really good in it actually, and I like when we meet him how we meet him. He's totally different. I mean, he's crazy, and he's like kicking the guy, and I'm sorry about kicking the balls. You know, I like that he's aware of what's going on, and his whole situation with David Warner and how David Warner, like, we don't know I like the ambiguousness of that David Warner seems to know what they're dealing with outside. Sam Neill knows it was coming. He may not necessarily know how bad it is yet.
But they made that comment at the beginning: is you're wanting to see if he's one of them or if he's still okay.
Yeah, and then John Glover's whole thing, like, it must be getting pretty bad out there, or something. Like, I did crumbling.
We might be frozen a little bit.
Am I there? Good. Yeah, the thing, like, there's something going on. There's something going on out there that it's so important that Sam Neill is important that this guy needs to come and talk to him right away. And then I just like the whole thing where he's like, you want to hear about my them, right? Yeah, all schizophrenics have a them and a they, or so yeah, I dig Sam Neill's character in it, definitely.
But that's one of the interesting things that they don't even expose in this movie, that David Warner, he's part of the government and he knows what's going on outside the world. And like, see, this is one of the stuff I wanted to pose questions to Seth, because I'm not sure, like, in his mind, the book has already been distributed, right? Has the book been distributed in reality? And is that the reason why David Warner is going to John Trent to talk to him about it? Because he knows about all the stuff that's happening right now? Does any of that make sense?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's kind of like a lead up to it too, where you have you have this whole thing where the fans of Sutter Cane are getting really restless. There's
a little
violence happening in bookstores, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And before he went into the asylum, he learned that the book was published like 6 months prior, and that there's a movie coming out, and so the power of Sutter Cane is spreading, and more weird stuff is happening out there. I don't know if
that's what kind of threw me for a loop, because at the beginning they were talking about them freaking out over pre-orders of the book.
Right.
The book hadn't come out yet. Nobody's seen shit yet. And then all of a sudden it's like plopped over.
So basically, John Trent's character, he was obviously made up, which, by the way, I love that line. This town wasn't here before I wrote it, and neither were you. I fucking love that line.
Yes.
And then the foreshadowing of when Bernie Casey wants to hire him, and he says, "No, I like being my own man. No one pulls my strings. No one controls me." Like, yeah, you're completely being controlled and written. Yeah. Straight.
Right.
Yeah. But basically, I mean, if you think about the character of John Trent and what his purpose is really to, I guess, because it's complicated, right? Because he is a fictional character, it turns out. But In the Mouth of Madness, the book is the one of Sutter Cane's books that brings over the ancient ones. It's the one, and John Trent is that messenger. So John Trent's purpose is to be the one to bring the power of Sutter Cane to the real world. It's hard to explain. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Well, what I gathered was, like, like Sutter Cane himself wasn't a writer. Like the old ones are writing for him, right? Like
Right, exactly. Yeah.
they're telling him what to write, but like he had to be like the reason he becomes the Stephen King guy is because they wanted to reach the biggest audience to read the book. So they
Right.
had to write all these other things that really weren't insignificant. This is the finish line novel that's going to
Yes.
bring them back and turn the world over into complete madness
And
and
allow us
chaos.
to cross through.
Right. Exactly.
Which is a total another thing that I wanted to discuss with you guys, because there's so much going on in this shit. We've got nods to The Thing. We've got nods to H.P. Lovecraft. Like there's another one too that I'm.
There's a lot of. I got a very strong. Of course, DeLuca came from the Nightmare on Elm Street series. I got a lot of vibes from Nightmare on Elm Street throughout the movie, even in music cues and things. And
I didn't notice that. Now I got to watch it again, Nate. Thank you.
And what's really wild is I saw a lot of parallels with New Nightmare.
New Nightmare, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, New Nightmare.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some
Definitely,
writing.
definitely.
It's already
Yeah.
done, like. Yeah, and like, doesn't she read like what he's doing at the end? Like she's reading straight from the book of how he going down that tunnel, or like it's already been written, everything, and she's reading it. That was total New Nightmare to me. And this came out about a year after New Nightmare.
No, same year.
But it was written before New Nightmare.
94, wasn't it? 94, 95.
Well, yeah, it premiered at a film festival in December of '94, and then it was released worldwide in February of '95.
Yeah. But there was I got a lot of New Nightmare. This would be a great double feature of New Nightmare and The Mouth of Madness.
I might have to do that sometime.
There was also a couple of other things that I noticed, and I don't think they were intentional or anything, but it was right around the time he did the Village of the Dam remake.
Which was right after this, I think, wasn't it?
The stuff with the children. I really thought about that a little bit. And then the biggest one, even though he was a producer on it, was I don't remember the main girl's name, Styles. After they get in the car wreck, she comes out and turns into a fucking thing. Reminded me of Season of the Witch.
Right.
Yep. Oh, okay.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Totally.
Wow.
Yeah, I liked it because
I don't know if that was intentional at all or what.
I think like because Sutter Cane is like supposed to be, again, a hack horror novelist, so he's written all these things we're seeing are
because that's
from his
what
books.
he kept saying throughout the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, like the feeding, I think, was the kids, and then the Hobbs End was the old lady.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's all these different books, and they're like horror cliches, like they're like horror movie cliches, and they're like so. Hobbs End is like this collective of like if we were walking into Stephen King world, if we were walking into Castle Rock. Is basically what it is. Or
I mean, it's northeast America, you know.
Yeah, they're all taken from like Lovecraft stuff, but like a lot of the titles are plays on Lovecraft. But it's also very much a Stephen King type of thing as well going on.
I want to read this comment real fast. He's writing the new Bible. This is from Gabriel Diaz. He's writing the new Bible. It was dictated by God, and this one being dictated by the old gods. But Sutter adds creative flair. The film is brilliant in this way. I believe Sutter refers to himself, I am God now. Yeah, he does later on.
He does.
On the bus, I think.
Towards the end.
Did you ever know my favorite color is blue?
Right.
Do you think
anyway, sorry.
Do you think that Sutter Cane is actually at all in control, Seth, or do you think he's just a puppet and they're completely the old ones are really what's that he's?
I think it's a little of both. But go ahead, Seth.
Yeah, I think it's totally a little bit of both. I mean, he even admits that, for a long time he thought it was all him, but then he learned that they were controlling him. But I think it was a matter of he had talent and they were exploiting his talent to come into the world.
He was their conduit. He was like the conduit to get them.
Right.
They used him as a way to express everything that they were trying to tell. but he still had some kind of control.
And of all
but I think-
things, how can you get millions of people to follow you other than the written word?
Yeah, let me ask you this. What came first? The old ones infecting? Let's just call them the old ones. I don't know what they call them in the movie, but was it that, or was it his first book, and they saw some potential in his first book, and like, let's help this guy out a little bit. Let's give this
like
boy a
they're
lift.
all connected to this Hobbs End, which is completely like a fabrication. Is that where they come from, or is it completely a false reality?
I think it's a
Or
false
like
reality.
Imagination of imagination.
That's what I got. I thought it was a false place.
I mean, I guess it makes sense because, like, when he comes out and the little paper boy's like, I don't, like you said, you ever heard of Hobbs End? Like, no one knows what Hobbs End is. So it's like, it only exists in Sam Neill's mind because he's not thinking for himself. He's being written. Everything that he thinks is going to be written or created. So is there really a Hobbs End, or is that all in the imagination?
I
Maybe
think
it's becoming real through psychic.
I just saw Nate's
I don't know.
name. Sorry about
What?
the balls. I just saw your name. I just noticed it.
Sir, it was a lucky shot.
It was a lucky shot. Okay. Sorry about that.
I tell you, that man knows how to make a one single black crayon go far.
Yeah.
Right?
Where did he get that
Jesus.
black crayon?
Right? How long was that black crayon? Literally.
That's the most unbelievable thing in the movie.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That's legit, though.
That took me right out of the movie as an artist.
All he
I'm like,
wanted
you
was a
can't do
black
that
crayon.
with
What?
You can't do all that with one black crayon. Somebody's slipping him crayons.
Here's the next crayon, Mr. Trent. Put
David
it on his
Warner's
pillow.
bringing
and
them in.
sleep him.
And-
Yeah. Smuggle them in packs of cigarettes.
You owe me a pack of cigarettes, sir.
You bring them.
All right, let's get back to it. So, what was the last thing that was said before the black crayon and I saw Nate's name?
I'm talking about the whole Hobbs End, and is it real or is it all? Because
No, it's
the only
completely
people-
fictitious, right?
I mean, is the girl, the agent, is she completely written too, or is she
Yes. Yeah,
She's
because
real.
that's the
So anybody
thing
who's
about
ever
this
been
movie.
So everyone who's in Hobbs End is completely fictitious.
Well, when he gets back later on, he goes back to the editor, and he has no idea who Styles is. He sent him out 6 months ago, and the book's already out, and all this different stuff. So she is completely fictitious. in
And
my
he
mind.
already brought the manuscript back, and he doesn't even remember doing
Right.
that.
But at the same time, like, if he's just
Total
fictional-
Twilight Zone episode.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like, well, he doesn't exist, so who is Trent? And how is he talking to, Charlton Heston? And how is he being committed? And how is he? Is that all fiction? Is that all in the movie? Is that just the movie? Because he's watching himself in the movie and everything at the end of the movie, laughing.
I remember when that happened.
I haven't done enough drugs in my life to get this one.
I remember doing that earlier. That was a good part in the movie.
That was funny. All I remember seeing this movie for the first time were some of the creepiest images I had seen in the 90s.
When did you? So you saw it in the 90s?
I saw it when it came out, and I remember the first thing that got me. I mean, the guy with the axe, the agent, coming through the window was pretty alarming and scary. But I just remember the kid on the boat. The kid on the bicycle was creepy as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I first saw that.
I mean,
movie.
Padme thought he was creepy too.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Like I was gonna say, I saw this in '95 at some point. I rented this and I rented Lord of Illusions. I think I've told you guys that before because I used to get the titles are so good that I think I used to get them mixed up. But yeah, like some of my favorite stuff about this movie is just the stuff leading up, like when he's in the bookstore and there's the books are all over the place and shit like that. But I said it earlier, Nate, and I wanted to see what you think. Is Hobbs End a place that you'd want to visit? So I do.
No.
No?
No.
Should make one of
I was
those.
gonna say-
Those
If I could walk away and run out there, even if my car doesn't start, maybe.
is it the children? Is that why, or is it
one
that you
inter-
have
one-
to go through the sky to get
One
there?
thing I like when I watched it the other day that I guess I never 100% grasped the movie, but when I was watching, I was like, damn, the Hobbs End stuff is very choppy. It's just cut weird, but really bad, weird editing and choppy. And I thought, well, if books can do that, books are like that. You'll be in one thing, and all of a sudden, boom, you're over here, you're over there, you're over there. It's not like a film. So I thought maybe John's incorporating that element of novels or books, because books can go. I mean, you could be reading a paragraph, and the next thing you know, you're in 1964 or something, and then all of a sudden you're back to the present, and then all of a sudden you're 10 years for here, there, and
I feel stupid, by the way, because I didn't think that I didn't think about this being the book at all. Like, because there's so many things about this movie that, like, it has. Once you get this, especially once you get on the road to Hobbs End, it feels like it's got this dreamlike quality. But I didn't think about you're just following the book, and that's why it cuts the way it does in a lot of places too. Not even just in Hobbs End, but like when he's piecing everything together, the whole alley scene with the cop, you know, like
yeah.
And then of course he walks past the big signs for the Hobbs End horror book on the wall. So yeah, I never thought about that. No. This is one of the reasons I love the show, is because I get to go back and rewatch these movies with your guys' perspective. It's
almost like
too bad this is the last show.
It's it's almost like he's like those repetitive things. It's like, well, that's the editing process. This was the first draft, this is the second draft, this is the third draft. There could be all kinds of things you could read into how the structure of this movie plays out. Which just makes it really ambitious. Like I do think this is one of the top horror films of the 90s. In a time when there weren't good horror movies, this was one of the shining lights, I thought, when it came out. We're still making good ones. And this is, I think, this is his best of the 90s. I can't remember everything else he made, but I'm pretty sure this was the best thing he made.
Other than Vampires, yeah, because it's sandwiched right between...
Good, but
it's not as good. Yeah, this is way better. But I'm just saying, other than Vampires, because you got Memoirs of the Invisible Man, and then this Village of the Damned is right after. I think it's right, Seth. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. Village of the Damned is right after.
Yeah, so they're sandwiched right between. I'm checking to see where we have this ranked on our original 90s.
I personally liked Vampires better, but this is so much of a better movie.
All right, I'm gonna pull this up so I can show you guys. But when we first started the Horror Syndicate, I did a top 15 of the 90s. Totally forgot about Candyman, by the way, so don't judge me.
Whoa.
But this is it's number 6.
You're fired, Bob.
I know, I'm out. It's number 6, but New Nightmare's right there, Nate, like you're saying. Dead Alive, Scream, The Sixth Sense. So this is decent, right? It's in a decent spot. Except don't answer that. I know what you're gonna say. I know you're gonna say it should be number 1, right? And you're gonna do it like this. It should be number 1, Ray.
It's at least better than Sixth Sense.
Yeah, it is. I you know what? I'm gonna redo the list.
That's gonna need to happen.
Well, it has to because Candyman's not on there.
This can be your personal list, and we can all do our own.
No, fuck that list. I'm gonna make another one because I'm Mr. List guy all of a sudden again. Fuck that.
No,
list. That's 2016, Ray.
Jesus,
this is 2022.
That was when the website first started.
Yeah.
Did y'all talk about that? The opening theme music, that Metallica sounding.
I love. Oh, you heard it too.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Go ahead.
Total Inner Sandman.
I love
at the very beginning.
Yeah, it's a cool entrance, and just the whole printing press going.
Yeah.
It changes after that. I was like,
I have that playing on my TV.
Drums and guitar parts for Inner Sandman.
He's tearing up the books now. We should get a commentary on this.
But what you mentioned earlier, Ray, like you had problems differentiating Lord of Illusions and this one. Yeah. There are very many parts that feel like Barker. In the first, minutes of this movie.
That flash part at the beginning where the axe and the monster is going through, it looks total Hellraiser or something like that.
And just the ideas and stuff. A lot of it feels very like Barker.
Yeah.
Well, he is the new face
And
of horror.
I'm sure John was inspired by that too. I mean, Hellraiser was pretty impactful. John's not afraid to be inspired by other filmmakers and play around with things, but he likes to take them and make them his when he can. And
Mm-hmm.
but I definitely saw Nightmare and Hellraiser stuff in there,
Yes.
and I think it would be.
H.P. Lovecraft. Like that was.
Yeah.
I was thinking that.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, well, if he's going to embrace Lovecraft, so why not embrace Wes Craven and Clive Barker? You know?
Yeah.
I mean, where's the wrong in that? Everybody embraced Halloween. Everybody ripped fucking John off.
Right.
Right? Yeah. That's a good point. Everybody did in the 80s rip John off.
Yes. People still ripping that man off.
Other than the fact that it was Halloween, but he was like, he had to be the most successful horror director in the 80s. Right?
Yeah.
Don't
Can't
say
take
Craven.
everything from Howard Hawks.
Yeah. Yeah. But I was going to say, don't say Craven because we got Deadly Friend. I mean, that's one of the greatest horror movies of the 80s.
Spielberg only did one horror movie, right, in the 80s.
What movie is that?
Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone?
He produced Gremlins.
Not Poltergeist?
Well, he produced Poltergeist, yeah.
Yeah. Produced. That's, you know.
He was all over that shit. Toby Hooper was, yes, the guy, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So let me ask you, okay, somebody mentioned in one of those reviews that the effects were poor. One of the best scenes in the movie is when he's in that tunnel and all of the Lovecraftian monsters start coming out. And I don't even talk about just that. I guess the old lady and her tentacles, that wasn't great. That's probably why it was shot so dark, I think. But like one of my favorite fucking things is the ever evolving painting in the hotel. You know, that's like there's a lot to this movie that I don't think really gets enough credit because that's just kind of a small detail that you may just forget about, you know. So, what?
I was just giggling because of the painting's evolution.
Yeah, it's awesome. That's one of my favorite things. Before the couple was
destroyed, the lady looked like literally one of the aliens from It's Alive.
Yeah.
That's when he started talking to her, and she's like, "I didn't draw that.
I didn't paint that." She was disgusted at the notion that she could have.
The movie doesn't have that big of a budget, from what I remember. It's like maybe $8 million or something, or $4 million.
Let me take a look.
Yeah.
I'll take a look. Movie math. I mean, yeah, it couldn't have been that big. I mean, it didn't look like it would have had a big budget. And Carpenter movies tend to not. What was his biggest budget movie? Do you know?
Jesus Christ.
Seth, you have to know.
If I had to guess, I'd say that
Halloween. No, I'm joking.
Maybe Big Trouble, or
the budget was $8 million. It says an $8 million budget, and it barely made its money back.
That's crazy.
Well, horror was kind of dead at the time. It really was. This was right before Scream came out.
Yeah, it was in that really dead area between like 1992 and 1995.
Yeah, horror wasn't making any money.
Here's a couple things. Michael DeLuca wrote this, and didn't he put in some scripts for Elm Street, like Part 5?
He wrote Freddy's Dead.
Freddy's Dead, okay.
Freddy's Nightmares, some of the Freddy's Nightmares, and I think he may have written a script that maybe didn't get used for Part 5. But now, he's like a big CEO, big head honcho guy. But
apparently, 2 other directors were attached to this movie, Tony Randall and Mary Lambert from Pet Sematary, before Carpenter signed on in 92. That's interesting.
He turned it down originally, I think. He was the first to be approached, and then Randall came on, Lambert came on.
The town scenes in Hobbs End were filmed in Main Street, Unionville, and the exterior of the Black Church is the actual Cathedral of Transfiguration in Markham, Ontario. That's actually
up in Canada?
Yeah, so that's an actual cathedral. How crazy is that?
Well, I figured it was. I just didn't know where the fuck it was.
Right. Like, well, you know what? Sean from Horror's Hallowed Grounds I believe he's had an episode of In the Mouth of Madness. I think it's on the Scream Factory, actually.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that's something that I always look for whenever I get a Scream Factory is if he's because I don't know, Nate,
I'll have to
you're like
update my passport.
yeah yeah right. You like visiting the haunts of all the old movies, you know. That's something I've always wanted to do, and Sean's out there
Yeah,
videoing it.
I
And it's so
always
cool.
it's kind of it's almost like a scavenger hunt. Like when you can
Yeah.
get there, especially if it's something that's not obvious. Like when I would like find the alleyway from like Reservoir Dogs or something like that. Like, oh, there's that building. See, it's been 30 years, but that's that building, and it's changed. But you're like, this is where it was shot. And it's not obvious, like a house sitting there or
Yeah,
a
it's not the
building.
same.
And it's kind of exciting to be like when I went in like the alleyway from Nightmare on Elm Street or the alleyway from the Elrod house or something like that. Those are like the coolest because like it's just an alleyway. No one would know that that's
Right.
where Halloween 2 was shot or
Yeah, I mean, how many people walk past that every day, you know, and don't
yeah, somebody's throwing
realize?
their garbage out and like, dude, that's where
Right.
Michael Myers was like hiding from Dr. Loomis.
I
That was it was even cool as much as people don't like Halloween Inn or Kills. When I went to those locations, all of them are so much in this one little neighborhood. The flashback scenes, and so I was just walking through the whole neighborhood. I felt like I was walking through Haddonfield, kind of, because there are all these alleyways and streets, and they filmed on all like 3 or 4 of them. And the park that Lindsay gets attacked in is right down the mid street from it, and it's almost like I said I kind of feel like I'm walking in Haddonfield a bit.
that'd be a cool
It's all in
feeling to
the same
have.
neighborhood. Yeah.
I mean, like when you visit the Elm Street house, did you feel like you were on Elm Street?
Kinda, yeah, because you got like Glenn's house right across the street. You got
Yeah.
like when you go to the Wallace and Doyle house, they're right across the street. You're on the road, so it's kind of a cool feeling.
Nate, when you come into St. Louis, you know we got Escape from New York filming locations. Just saying.
These days, yeah.
15 minutes from my house. I've been to a couple of them. No pictures though. I'm not a big Carpenter fan. I won't even see Assault on Precinct 13. I was gonna say 15 just to screw with Seth. Anyway, so back to the movie if we can do. Where'd Jared go?
I'm gonna step away for a minute too. I guess talk.
All right, good, Seth. Let's talk about after he leaves Hobbs End. That's what I wanted to get into that a little bit. When he starts goes to the hotel and he gets the package that just says John Trent. Who delivered that? And the guy comes out and he's like, who was here? Who saw it? He's like, I did, and I didn't see shit. I love that. But at what point do you think so this is the thing, in my mind, when I was watching this again, I always think this because especially when they're going to Hobbs End, it feels like it's a dreamlike state, even after the fact, because he's on that bus and everything turns blue and all that shit. So in your mind, did you think it was the story the whole time, or am I just stupid? Go ahead and say I'm stupid.
No, I took it for what I thought it was, which is there's a blend of the reality and fiction. There's an actual change coming that's going to wipe out humankind pretty much.
Right.
And so John Trent is a part of that. He was written to be a part of that. And I mean, the whole thing is really about Sutter Cane. With each book, he gets more and more powerful, right? And I think that's how eventually Hobbs End came to be. Hobbs End wasn't a real place, but it became a real place because of the more that Sutter Cane wrote about it, and the more people believed in it, and the more people were getting kind of sucked into that power. And that's, I don't know. I just took it as it was something that was actually happening. There was a shift in our reality because of this phenomenon.
Which the reading the book infected people, right? And they started becoming I don't know what you call. They're not zombies. It's almost like a zombie apocalypse type thing, where they're these out of control rage monsters. Well, like 28 days later. But like I don't know how to categorize them. But like once I like that he thinks that at first he wants to get out of the sanatorium or whatever it's called. But then by the end he doesn't want to leave at all because he knows that's like the safest place. And then one of the best parts is whenever the camera pans back from his cell and you can see claw marks on the door, and shit's just everywhere, and he just walks through, all this destruction. There's papers everywhere, all the way to the theater to watch his movie, which is a brilliant part of the whole movie. Like I love when he's sitting there eating popcorn, laughing at himself, essentially.
Yeah.
And it's the movie's such a freaking trip. Like it's just like. Did we even talk about the kids and how creepy all the kids were and how it affected the young first, it seemed like?
We didn't talk about that, but that's sort of like in a way, there's sort of like a satire element to this movie, with the things that people believe,
Mm-hmm.
It almost kind of satires the fact that people really do go nuts over this stuff, and there are people who believe that horror will affect children. You know what I mean? Like
Star Wars fans. This reminds me of Star Wars fans.
Well, I mean, you could take it with anything. I mean, even with politics now, with the way that
absolutely.
both the people from both sides are very much like a part of a cult,
mm-hmm.
And we're at each other now because of that cult-like mentality. That's kind of the thing. Like Sutter Cane is sort of like a cult leader in a way because his writing had affected the minds of people. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but my question is, again, what does it do to them? Because the kids start mutating in Hobbs End. Are they becoming some kind of mutant creature thing? Like, are they mutating into the old ones? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I think that's the whole point. That what In the Mouth of Madness does is the book In the Mouth of Madness. What it does is it triggers that evolution.
Infects.
Yeah.
That's what I was curious about too. Like that was part of the stuff that I wasn't privy to because I don't totally understand it because I've only seen it a handful of times. But
I mean, it's all open to interpretation too. I mean, it's not like you get a solid, concrete, definite answer to all these things. It's just, I don't know, like Carpenter does with a lot of his films. He leaves it up to you, the viewer, to decide what's real, what's not, what's going to happen next, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just loved his attitude on the Prince of Darkness commentary. He's like, I don't know, it's just horror mumble jumbo. I just love that he's like being honest about it. Like I'm just a filmmaker. I don't know. I just thought it would be cool. Like that's like I admit like Lovecraft is a big thing in the horror genre. I've never gotten into Lovecraft. I just never could get into it.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what it was. I've just never been a big Lovecraft guy.
Have you read any of the stuff? I mean,
I've tried.
Yeah.
I've read some. It's just never clicked with me. So I'm not one of those Cthulhu guys or like. I don't dislike it. I just don't. It's not in my wheelhouse, basically. So when movies are highly inspired by it, that's why I'm like, I love Stuart Gordon, but I don't love like From Beyond or some of the other stuff. I like Reanimator, but Reanimator's kind of like a lot of Lovecraft fans say that's not really Lovecraft or not like his stuff. But
well, I mean, it is and it isn't. I mean, it's. Yeah, I've read Reanimator, Herbert West Reanimator. It's just. It's very similar. It just takes place in a different time period, really.
Yes.
There's a few small differences,
but I don't know. I did like this one, and I mean, like I said, there's things I don't love about the film, but I think a lot of that was just when I watched I watched some stuff on it, and it sounded like Carpenter had to re-edit it because it wasn't working. kept trying to get the right cut, and I kind of see that when I watch it. It almost feels like it wasn't a film that was sure of what it was or what he was sure what he was making, and he had to find it in the editing process. And because of that, you are going to have some. These are just filmmaking structure problems that I have with it. Like I'm like, it starts to become a little unclear, but at the same time, that's the nature of the fucking movie. It's kind of lends itself to that. But because of that, I have little problems with it. Leave your phones in there. I don't know where I was at, but I think I noticed that when I found out that he had to keep cutting it because he wasn't 100% sure how to cut it or how to make it all work. But other than that, I still think it's a strong film for its era.
It is. I do want to ask all of you guys, though, do you think Styles' character was she strong in this?
I don't care for her much. I don't know if it's the casting.
I think it was casting possibly because
I'm not I think it's her.
Not that she's a bad actress or anything.
No, I kind of agree with Nate on that. I didn't care for her either. And her forced attempts to like stall him by making sexual advances were kind of very cringy, in my opinion.
The first one was, but when the second time she does it, she mentioned that Sutter's writing this into me, so I have to do this. That makes sense.
Yeah, that's true.
The first time you didn't realize what the fuck was going on. Are
you
you gonna come with me and just gonna suck your face?
At the same time, I could see kind of in the beginning the way she acts when they go into the office, Charlton Heston's office, and she's meeting him. If he's playing Humphrey Bogart, she's totally playing Lauren Bacall. Like there's some femme fatale noir mannerisms and actions that she takes in that, and I don't know if it feels off because that is a very dated style of film or acting, because it is from the 30s and 40s. Or 40s, I guess. But
just the casting.
I do think it would have. I do feel like if it had been a stronger actress. I don't know if this actress is bad or it's not that she didn't have much to do. She does have. It's a decently written part. I just don't think maybe this actress doesn't have. Maybe she wasn't the best to work opposite Sam. I don't know.
What do you think, Seth? I want to know what Seth thinks. Sorry, Jared.
No, I was just gonna say the only thing I've ever seen her in was Fright Night 2. Her menacing eyes.
Yeah,
that's what she's
very
got
dark
Mm-hmm.
eyes.
The blackest
eyes. Almost like there's no life in them. Like there's no, like they didn't put any highlight in them.
Doll's eyes.
Like a doll's eyes. So she bites you and rolls over like lifeless. Doesn't seem to be living.
Sorry, go ahead, Seth.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't think Julie Carmen is really a great actress. Like, she's not awful or anything, but her delivery for a lot of the stuff in this movie was very flat. I did kind of like her back and forth with Trent, on the way down the stairs and as he was getting into the elevator, stuff like that. But, when she's trying to convince him that it's all real, that everything's really happening, it's not quite believable. Like, I don't quite believe her. I don't know. Maybe she tries to oversell it, or
I think she's overdoing things. I think she's trying to be Lauren Bacall or some kind of noir femme fatale type, and it's just not relating to the movie he's making. And there's a few other, like, I don't really care for the guy, even though I know he's foreign. The Vigo guy from Ghostbusters 2 is very odd. Very
Not
odd
the greatest
acting.
actor either.
No, just get out. Like it's just some weird shit. Weird, and I just think that's lost in translation. I think it's just his accent, his, you know, not being an American. I think is trying to speak English, but there's just some of it even sounds ADR in some ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it might have been. I mean,
yeah, I don't understand that casting other than maybe like, well, this guy's creepy looking. That's like, but he's not. He's not a good actor, and he may be a great actor in his native country. And it's like, you know, when I saw Jean-Claude Van Damme speaking French in a French film, I'm like, oh, he can actually act. Okay. He's trying to
Sounds
speak
pretty
English.
fluid.
Pretty bad.
he's an amazing actor, even in any language.
I love me some JCVD.
But other like recast those two parts, the movie gets stronger. The rest, I mean, you got Bernie Casey. Bernie Casey is not exactly amazing in it, but of course you got Charlton Heston, who's always good, and David Warner. I loved his part.
Yeah, I
Glover's
forgot he
really
was in
playing-
this. And what's his name? John Glover.
John
Also is in
Glover's
it.
playing. It's almost like John Glover's still playing in like a John Glover's performance is extremely camp in this.
Mhm.
He almost plays like a cartoon to me.
Reminds me of his
Did anybody
performance in
get that
Batman and
from-
Robin.
It's almost like he's still in Gremlins 2 or something.
Batman and Robin. He
He's
reminds me of Batman and Robin.
Yeah, it's like his character is extremely B camp in delivery and everything. I don't believe him. I don't believe he's a real person. I guess he's maybe the novel person. But like David Warner's completely real, playing it completely straight and real. And John Glover feels like a cartoon to me.
Yeah, he does. I mean, even to his hairstyle and everything like that. Yeah.
So
I love
Just
John
to-
Glover though.
just to throw
Yeah, I like
devil's
John
advocate in there, like, would the movie have been a little bit better? I mean, it's already a good movie on its own, but would it have been a little bit better if it flashed back to Sam and David Warner like talking a little bit more throughout the entire
I would have
wraparound?
loved to see David Warner and Sam Neill like in an Exorcist 3 kind of way. If the movie had a lot of conversation between them throughout the whole movie, I think that would be a stronger movie. I do think I would love to see that. I don't know what they would have talked about, but I think I would have liked to see him telling his story to David Warner, so we could have got more David Warner. Because I think those two actors are really great actors and great characters. Their scenes in the padded room are great. Like that's a great setting, great lighting, great actors. I think Jared, I think that would have been cool to see. Their
Almost like setting up the different acts or something, or just like almost like a chapter back and forth, and it goes back into the wraparound story.
And it would have worked in the pulp noir, because a lot of that was voiceover or clever dialogue, like to have Sam Neill sitting there smoking a cigarette and talking in a noir way to David Warner, having this back and forth. I'd love to see that. Like I wish there was footage of that, like that they could cut into the movie. I think that would have made I would have loved to see that.
Because I mean, again, because we don't see a whole lot of Sam Neill at his manic, completely crazy state. Yeah, we see him evolving to that, but yeah, I think
there's a lot of part where a lot of times when I watch it, Sam Neill almost doesn't react, and there's a reason he doesn't react the way he should, because he thinks it's all bullshit. He thinks it's all fake, that they're staging all this. So like even like when the guy shoots the shotgun at the church, like Sam Neill's reaction is like not someone just shot a fucking shotgun, but like
no, he's just looking back like it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
I want to go see what they're doing.
Yeah.
So there's things like that, but at the same time, the movie apologizes for this stuff because A, he's being written, and B, he thinks it's all horseshit. He doesn't believe any of it until right to the moment where he's like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. And he goes to get her, and tentacles and shit are under the door, and
She
but
throws
up
him
to
through
that,
the door.
yeah.
Seth, let me ask you a question. Where does that In the Mouth of Madness poster usually go?
I haven't had a chance to hang it up, so
I just noticed it.
I just figured I'd bring it over for this.
Yeah. Is there anything in particular you want to discuss, Seth, with this being your favorite Carpenter movie? Anything we haven't touched on?
You know, one of my favorite scenes is the you know, have I ever told you my favorite color is blue?
Yeah, I love that part.
You know, for so many years, I thought it was just like a blue tint or
Was it just
whatever
a
that they
filter?
did. I thought that's what it was. And
Yeah.
listening to the audio commentary a couple years ago with him and Gary Kibbe, I was really fascinated to find out how they actually did it. And there was a lot of effort put into that. The fact that it was a combination of, set decoration, wardrobe, makeup, and all that. You know, that they had two different buses, one with the more brown color, when they had the wardrobe, all the brown type color, and then with the blue, they had a bus that they painted with all the blue. They painted all the wardrobe blue. They put blue in the actor's hair, stuff like that. I
It
thought that
wasn't just a tint thing that that's crazy.
no, it really that was a really cool thing to learn about
So it was
that.
like a 10 or 15-second shot, though, that they,
That's
Yeah.
insane.
that's a lot of work for that
They could
sort
just
of
throw
a
a
shot.
different lens over the whole thing.
Well,
That's
I
awesome.
really dug that commentary that Seth was talking about with the cinematographer, because they almost dedicate the entire commentary to lighting and the lighting of that film. That was really unique, because John was not even like giving information about him. He just kept asking the cinematographer questions, like, how did you go about lighting that? What would you like to? What did you have to do? And he's like, oh, we'd have to put dimmers on the windows, and we have to do. And it was really interesting. I was like, this is like for someone who wants to learn film lighting. And I love that John even says it. He goes, this is why in film school I didn't even go into lighting, because it's too fucking hard. Like, I'd just be a director. I don't even know. Like, he's even, because people think you have to know everything and to be a director. And
I just pay the guy to do it.
That's why you
have a staff, right?
Yeah. And so I love that commentary, because it's completely John saying, hey, I've got my DP here, and I want people to learn. He's basically like, people listening probably don't know what that is or what this. Somebody's got a storm coming.
That's me. Yeah, I'm the dot in the middle. Sorry, I had to look because I got an alert. I'm like, oh shit.
I was gonna say St. Louis flooded just last week.
Yep.
But this podcast, because this is Seth's John Carpenter movie, I wanted, like, Seth, just tell us.
Yeah, everything.
Tell us everything that you love about it and everything that you know that's really interesting.
Just kind of, blow your load.
Yeah, just go off.
We'll sit back and take it.
Because I know what that is. I had your fate. We know how much you love Carpenter, and for this to be your favorite is very special.
Yeah.
So I just want to know, I'm sure there's a deep love and understanding, and more than we're even bullshitting, spitting out here.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I kind of mentioned some of this at the beginning of the show before you were on, Nate, but the concept of the movie really, I really latched onto it. When I was younger, I used to read a lot. I read a lot of, I'm a big Stephen
Nerd
King
alert.
fan. Yeah, nerd alert. So
perfection.
Yeah. So it really grabbed me with that, because King, even Lovecraft. I haven't read a shitload of Lovecraft, but I have read quite a bit of his stories. So it kind of the concept alone grabbed me on it, and also too, like when I was a kid, I had this Ninja Turtles book about this artist who had a magic pencil. Everything he drew came to life, and so ever since I was a kid, I was always really.
That's called Harold and the Purple Crayon.
I was always fascinated by the blend of reality and fiction, and then also when I first found this movie when I was a
My Lovecraft
teenager.
stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
I have that one.
I was starting to get into to the Carpenter's films around the same time. I was learning a lot about film and film production, stuff like that.
How old were you?
16, 17, something like that. And I, obviously I fell in love with John's style. Obviously I saw Escape from LA in the theater. I saw Halloween, Christine, stuff like that. But, especially when I saw The Fog, I was really into his craft, the way that his films were shot, the way they looked, the way they felt, the way that they're structured differently than normal, the way his characters always kind of have attitude. And, for a while, The Fog was my favorite Carpenter movie, and I was hanging out with a buddy. We went to Blockbuster.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. I mean, there's no such thing as a bad Carpenter movie anyway. But
nope, not that I've seen. But I haven't seen them all.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I was hanging out with a buddy, and we went to Blockbuster, and we were talking to this employee, and she asked us, what we were into. I told her about Carpenter and how I was really loving his stuff, and she recommended this one. And just something about it from when I first watched it, it just kind of blew me away. It was, it's I don't know, just the concept, the characters, especially Sam Neill. I've always liked Sam Neill, but I really love his performance in this, and I love the transition of his character, as I said earlier, from being sort of a tough character to crack, to how he ends up at the end.
Yeah, he's like the last guy that you would think is gonna be broken.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. I mean, even as stuff is happening, he still doesn't believe it. Like, he still needs more proof to disprove it, because that's what his character does. He likes to disprove people, and I think he plays it well, and I think he plays it very well too in the third act, when he is starting to crack little by little, up until the point he gets thrown into the asylum. But I mean, this isn't like, I think it's the best of Carpenter's 90s films. It doesn't have
100%.
It doesn't have that feel of his earlier stuff from the 70s and 80s. It's like a different era of John Carpenter in terms of how it looks and feels. But there's just something about this. Yeah, it's this totally 90s type style, and I don't know, something about this movie really grabbed me from the first time I saw it, and every time I watched it, I was always sucked into it. I love the concept of it. I love the blend of reality and fiction. I love the idea of John Trent being a fictional character. There was some other stuff I was going to point out too, and I forgot. Or, I mean, there's some generally creepy stuff too with the kids, like when Stiles goes back to the church to confront Sutter Cane, and there's the children there, and their faces all grotesque, and they throw the ball to her, and she's like, "Where are your parents?" They're like, "You're our mommy now." Like, it was kind of a really creepy moment.
Yeah, I love that. Like, it's Mommy's Day.
Yeah,
especially with the way the kid says it too. She's like, what today's Mommy's Day. Like, the way
it's like she's got the dentures in her mouth, so she can't completely form her with her lips. She's not saying it. Yeah. What's really cool, like, I noticed, I never realized that, like, in that movie, like the children's book, like, my new film is based on a lot of short stories I wrote in high school that were inspired by, like, how Stephen King would write those collections, like Night Shift and Nightmares and Dreamscapes. And I had a bunch of short stories, and anywhere in this movie I could fit in references to the stories I didn't use, I did. And one of the stories I had in high school was called The Spring Children, which was similar to, like, that, and like Children of the Corn, and kind of like the cliche scary kid book or story.
Village of the Damned type stuff.
So in my movie, I made a character, the father of one of the main characters. I needed to give him occupation, so I made him a horror novelist and like a Stephen King wannabe. And one of his books, the book that he's written, the only one it sold was called The Spring Children. So I made the book cover, give it to, you can see it in the trailer, I think. So like I would pepper things in. So when I saw it, I was like, oh, he's got the cliche killer kids, creepy kids, Village of the Dams, Field of the Corn. He's got the Hobbs Inn, which is kind of like, you know, a lot of Lovecraft. I know had stuff like this, Dunwich horror, stuff like that. But that made me smile when I saw the kids, because like, oh, the kids are just characters in one of the novels, and I kind of saw a parallel what I did with like throwing that into mine. And anytime I could pepper in anything from the stories I had written as a kid or a teenager, even my comic books found it in this movie. Like I got comic books on the walls that I created when I was in high school and stuff like that. So what that does is it gives this movie a whole world of like Stephen King has, where you have all these different characters who live in the same towns, and where you can have a show like Castle Rock or you know, that's what's really, I think that's what's cool about this, is it is close to if you were to make this movie about Stephen King, if he were the Sutter Cane character, and we were seeing Pennywise and Church and, you know, all these characters pop up around that town, that would be the ultimate.
Maybe that
remake that in
anyway.
Maybe that shit needs to happen.
Yeah.
Except I hear he's testifying now because the two of the biggest book companies are trying to combine.
What?
$2.2 billion. Did you guys hear about that?
No.
Stephen King's going to be testifying for the Department of Justice because Penguin and what's the other one? It's the other book company that he's writing for. They're trying to combine together for like a $2.2 billion deal, and they are two of the 5, you know, big publishing companies. And
Monopolizing, is that what they're trying to do?
kind of, yeah. And basically, why he's testifying is because they're going to be monopolizing and shorting authors' advances
Oh shit,
on books.
that's not cool.
I actually read that article today. I'll have to find it and send it to you guys.
Yeah, I'd like to read that. Well, guys, do you want to do some final thoughts on this one? Seth, you got anything else you want to talk about before we move on to final thoughts, being this your number one Carpenter?
Yeah, I think it's got a lot of really cool visuals too. I like the sequences where John Trent is dreaming about, you know, the cop and you know the mob of people. I think there's some really creepy visuals there. You know,
The loop he gets stuck in is really cool too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Which is something, you know, DeLuca kind of ripped himself off with Freddy's Dead.
Or, you know, Dream Master. I mean, they didn't.
Yeah, but I'm just saying because DeLuca wrote Freddy's Dead, like,
Yeah, I know.
you know, right before pretty much. And
Well, that motherfucker's ripping off some Dream Master then.
Yeah.
Some Rennie Harlan.
Yeah.
Or whoever wrote it.
Yeah. You know, and I think a lot of the there's a lot of the visuals. You know, I really like the scene where we first see Sutter Cane, you know, at the church with the doors open. You know, you have the little kid Johnny standing there.
Mhm.
They open and close, and then Sutter Cane's there.
Yeah, that's an awesome scene.
Yeah, and what I think enhances that is some of the score.
Mhm.
You know, there's a lot more. It's a lot like less of a score in some areas as it is like sort of more like stingers or whatever that kind of like enhance.
Sound designing, yeah.
Or like when, you know, they're driving or when Styles is driving and, you know, she's looking out the window and she's like above the road or whatever. There's all darkness and there's just there's sort of like an eerie music that accompanies that.
And then when the thunder and lightning hits,
I like
that part was actually really badass.
When he blows the horn out when she's sleeping.
I love that scene.
Look on that smile on his face, like, morning.
Hey, you're awake.
And she beats him with a bag of chips.
Yeah. I don't know. I wish I could describe better why I really love this movie and why this is my favorite Carpenter movie. It's I don't know. I guess it's kind of hard for me to explain. It's just more of a feeling, I guess. Like it's just like one of those movies that every time I watch it. With that?
Yeah, sometimes you can't explain yourself. That's what love is, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
you just love it.
Love is, man.
That's great. I like that. Because it does. It has a little bit of everything.
This movie, like, I don't see how anybody could say, like it does. It's got something for just about everyone. Like, there's a little bit of everything in this movie.
Yeah, right. Except for those Amazon reviewers. Good God.
Yeah. I can't wait for next week's.
What's next week again?
The Lost Boys. My friend Brett wanted to know, what did the ocean say to the beach?
Hello.
Nothing. It just waved.
Now?
What did the ocean say to the beach? Nothing. It just waved.
That's a total dad joke.
When we started the show, he would pop on and watch the show for a couple of minutes and send me a dad joke and then give me the punchline. And you can go back to most of our shows and see me do something like this because of him. So anyway, I wanted to read it aloud. Let's do some final thoughts. Unless Seth, you got anything else, man?
Nah, I'm good.
So Nate, let's do some final thoughts with you. Final thoughts with Nathan Thomas Miller.
Again, I think it's John's best of the 90s, or the maybe top 10 of the 90s. I'd have to look at everything, but I just always
did the
liked
countdown.
From the moment I saw it, from the moment I saw this movie, I went, okay, because again, the 90s were just kind of a bad time for horror. And this was a shining light in that time when it came out, where it was like, oh, there's something good. And I don't think I had really loved the John Carpenter movie for a bit at that point. Like, what did he do before this one?
Memoirs of an Invisible Man.
Yeah, like he had kind of I wasn't a big They Live guy, and I wasn't a big Prince of Darkness. Like I think Big Trouble was probably my last favorite John Carpenter.
I was gonna say They Live and Prince of Darkness, and then yeah.
And so I probably hadn't loved the John Carpenter movie in almost 10 years at that point. And
I got our list from last year when we did the episode. In the Mouth of Madness is number 5 on our combined list, all the 5 of us, with Candyman, Misery, Silence of the Lambs, and Scream.
It's a number 1 there.
Huh?
I'm sure Seth gave it a 1.
I bet he did. We're going to have to go back at the vault and find out.
I can guarantee it.
I can guarantee it.
I mean, just from my head, I would say, New Nightmares up there for me, Silence of the Lambs, Misery, Candyman, Scream, Blair Witch Project, Sixth Sense, and then it gets kind of cloudy where it's like, In the Mouth of Madness,
Night of the Living Dead,
From Dusk Till Dawn, Night of the Living Dead,
De La Morte de l'Amore, Lord of Illusions in there for you?
Yeah, I mean, you got to throw that in there too.
There's a lot. There are, I think when we talk, that's a good conversation. I think is to have is when we talk about the '90s horror films. Everybody knows it as a down decade, but there are some really good ones in there.
Did you see my post about? I counted it, and there were what was it? There weren't that many horror movies made in the '90s.
How long did it take you to do that? I was looking at those numbers.
It didn't take very long, actually. I'm just going through it, counting them. I was like, but the thing is, they just weren't a lot because they just weren't selling anymore. It wasn't like the 80s. But in 2000s, and that 2000 for our first 10 years of the 21st century, century was an explosion of horror. Where
Well, it's still kind of going.
There was like twice as many or 3 times as much as there were in the 80s.
How many horror movies did you see last year alone? Remember we talked about you saw close to 40.
I think I watched like 60 maybe.
Yeah, that many? Yeah. So there's
But that's only because that's only because we did the show and I wanted to try to cover as much as I could see.
Yeah, but the fact that there was that many though,
Yeah, there's always that many. Like there's always
right.
a ton and the truth is most of us will never watch them. Because we're going to watch Halloween Ends, and we're going to watch the Candyman remake, and we're going to watch the Child's Play, and we're going to bitch that nothing's out there. And there's tons of shit out there.
The Black Phone's my favorite horror movie of the year. Just throwing that out there.
There's always
Nope was really good, by the way. I don't know if you guys saw Nope yet. That was pretty good.
I love Nope.
I have not seen neither of them, but I read the short story Black Phone by Joe Hill. It was pretty good.
You and your reading. Readings for the birds, Jared.
Oh my God, Sutter Cane, really?
Hey, listen. If we were in the mouth of madness, I would survive because I only read comic books.
But you would still watch the movie later.
That's true. That's true. I'd watch the movie.
Is that what Charlton Heston says? There's still the movie,
right?
Oh yeah.
Somebody says that there's still the movie.
Yeah.
Like what about the people?
Oh yeah, Charlton Heston at the end.
Well, it worked out, wasn't it?
He's like the movie comes out next month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about. I got the movie playing here. The scene where the page rips and they walk through the page was a really cool kind of effect too.
For the year it came out, yeah, it was a pretty good effect for sure.
So anyway, what a snob! Listen to him. The year it came out.
What? Come on. We can be effect snobs.
At least you're not an HD snob like Keith.
No, I'm not.
It's got to be 4K, bro.
Yeah,
Nate, hold on.
I still got DVDs back here.
DVDs are where it's at, bro.
I still got DVDs.
Nate, did you finish your final thoughts? Sorry. Got to deal with this child over here.
Yeah, I'm fine. One thing I will say, again, we talk about, I don't always like the look of 90s films, but the cinematography of this one is pretty decent as far as the shadow and the lighting and everything. Especially,
it's no silver bullet.
So we talked about the alleyway scene where he sees a cop where he's pulling the paper with it. And some of the interior is really well lit. Definitely good cinematography for that era. There's a lot of ugly looking films. This isn't one of them.
There is a distinct 90s look. I mean, see Wishmaster if you want to know what I'm talking about.
It's a video look.
Just saying. Yeah. Well, that's why I said see Wishmaster.
Yeah,
I like Wishmaster. It's got such great kill scenes.
I like it too, but it's got that distinct look that Nate is talking about. I'm just saying.
Kind of that direct-to-TV look.
See Warlock if you want.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm just gonna throw some other ones out there. I know what he's talking about. Am I wrong, Nate, in saying like these movies are good examples of what you're talking about?
Yeah, there's a video cleanness to it, and in some ways almost overlit or something, where they were afraid to have shadow or. Even Scream's overlit in some ways. Yeah, when I heard them say that in Scream 5, they said that movie was overlit or something. Like they were talking about stab ones. Yeah, I think they take a shot at how overlit. Because if you watch Scream 5, the lighting is not Scream lighting. It's more how they light stuff today. It's a little underlit, like not so much top lights and not so much fill lights. It's a little more natural.
There's a lot of daylight in Scream though, also, but. God, that just doesn't look like Hayden Christensen to me.
Does it?
No.
He's Canadian,
sure,
right? That's why he was in it.
This was his. This is why George wanted him for Star Wars.
Because he was blonde.
I don't know. Yeah, actually, I don't know. I'm just. Anyway, Jared, how about you?
Well, I mean, I had a chance to talk about all the fun facts already throughout the episode. I mean, it's this one is one of the ones that I've seen a lot fewer times than a lot of his other ones. And today I was pleasantly surprised and reminded of why I need to watch this movie again every once in a while. Because it is really fucking good, despite some of the weird flaws that we've discussed already. But as far as his best of the 90s, I'm always going to be a Vampires fan more just because I wore that shit out on VHS.
I have 2 copies on Blu-ray.
I do. I mean, I had it on DVD and Blu-ray. Like, I fucking love that movie. I don't know. Everybody's got their own preference.
Do have one quick ad. One of John Carpenter's best titles, even though I guess it
Yes.
wasn't his title, a great
Me
title.
and you, Nate, we're always about titles with like those awesome titles.
Yeah.
Like the movie I watched last night, the night Evelyn came from her raised something. I can't even remember what it's called. I'm gonna watch The Red Queen kill 7 times tonight.
Yeah.
Anyway.
In the Mouth of Madness is a great title for anybody.
It really is.
It's totally great title. Like, I really don't have a whole lot of bad things to say other than I don't really like Styles' character. I love Sam throughout it. Yeah, I mean, it does, like Nate was kind of mentioning, it does kind of feel like it reads like a book, like watches like a book as you like progress through it, because there's that point
like an instruction
where
manual.
they were in Hobbs End at the very beginning, and she sees the kids running around the corner, which, like, if we were watching like a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, they would just kind of disappear. You know, she would just watch them disappear, and it cuts from her, and she's like, "Did you see that?" I'm like, no, I didn't see shit. Like, and it just keeps going on. But so, like, they didn't need to elongate that scene. But like, when he brought that up, like, it's like it kind of just cuts like a book sometimes. That was the scene that I thought of the most because it's a New Line picture too. So I kind of like was expecting some stuff to happen. That was kind of remembrance of that. But no, I give it 2 thumbs up. I'm done.
All right, Seth. Your final thoughts, and then we'll wrap this episode up.
My final thoughts. Obviously, I kind of like this movie a little bit. Yeah, I don't know what to say for my final thoughts that I haven't said it already. I just think it's got some of John's creepiest visuals in a way. I really like the story. I like the concept of it, and I like the character of John Trent, and I think it's just a fun movie to watch. And this is a movie where, since I discovered it, anytime I get an opportunity to talk to someone who's into movies, who hasn't seen it, I'm there with one of my copies. I have 2 Blu-rays and a DVD of it, and everyone who I've let borrow it has really loved it. I watched it with one friend who is a little bit of a chicken with some horror, and like he was like really like reacting to some of the stuff in it. I don't know. It's just for me, it's just a fun movie. It's my personal favorite. You know, again, we mentioned this before. There's a distinction between personal favorite and what is objectively his best. But this is my personal favorite. This is the one I do tend to go to the most of his entire filmography if I'm not doing a complete marathon.
More than Halloween?
Yeah, I mean, I love Halloween too, and I've seen Halloween a shitload of times, but I mean, again, like, I mean, with my own personal rankings, they don't match with what a lot of other people.
Yeah, like, what's the first movie you're going to grab for when you want to watch a Carpenter movie kind of thing?
Right. Well, and that's why I declare In the Mouth of Madness as my favorite Carpenter movie, because it is the one that I go to the most. And again, I love Halloween and I love The Thing, but I'm one of those weirdos who loves In the Mouth of Madness and The Fog just a little bit more than those two.
I love The Fog.
You know, but again, like, I love his entire filmography. I mean, I've often gone through and done marathons in a row of essentially 23 if you count, you know, Masters of
37 in a row.
Don't suck any dicks on the way to the parking lot.
He's bringing in the episodes he did for Masters of Horror too.
Yeah,
Sarah Burns is a good one.
Matter of fact, if you're watching us on YouTube, check his video out. He ranked all 23 John Carpenter movies It's somewhere down there, but check it out. Seth did a whole video describing exactly why he likes each one of them and everything. So check it out.
And I do have some camera issues in that, which is Ray had to cover up with some editing.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question, Seth. When you watch In the Mouth of Madness, when you pay attention to, you watch it, but do you always have this look on your face?
Every time.
Or is it this look? Okay.
That's a bit like Seth.
No, I'm like the guy from Office Space, you know. Gotta show my O face.
Yeah. Is there anything else we want to say before we depart for the evening?
Evil Dies Tonight.
Oh, fuck. I forgot to end first. All right. So next week we will be back with The Lost Boys, per request of one of our viewers.
Welcome back, Nate, as well.
Huh?
Thank
I
you.
said welcome back, Nate, as well.
Welcome back.
From your vacation that you had last
Oh
week.
yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah.
You were here for the Halloween show. Yeah, so we'll be talking about The Lost Boys next week, and then after that we're gonna do something kind of strange, kind of fun. Let's Nate, can you describe the movie or tell the movies we're gonna watch, because I already forgot the titles.
I forget. When I did,
Did you really?
yeah. Well, I did a thing where I was trying to find out like how many original films come out every decade in horror, and the sequel versus sequels and remakes, and how it's not really that bad, and because people bitch about remakes and sequels and things, and when I did that, I realized, like, counting, like, man, I consider myself a horror guy, but there's a lot of horror from the 80s and 90s I have never seen or even heard of, because it was a VHS boom and it was direct-to-video era, and now, granted, a lot of them I knew of but never watched because they look like shit. I was like, I don't want to watch these. But I just thought, man, there's still a whole lot of I think there were 1,700 films from the 70s to the 90s in horror that I've never seen. I said, I bet a lot of people have it, and I bet a lot of us have it. And so why don't we just start picking some of these movies and talking about them? So we're talking about things we've never seen before, and we have completely fresh perspectives on, and that, I mean, we talked about a lot of movies we've seen 1,000 times, and what if we tried to look at films that we haven't, collectively, and maybe we'll find like a new favorite or something. I mean, you never know.
That's true.
Almost like a podcast, bloody streaming roulette.
Yeah, that's what I thought actually.
It's a good idea.
It is. We're gonna do this once a month. We're gonna take two movies, and we're gonna discuss two movies that are kind of like blind picks that are streaming somewhere, whether it be Tubi, Shudder, Amazon, whatever it is. That way, anybody who wants to watch a show will have the same opportunity we have to watch these movies. So it should be fun.
I believe it was Assignment Terror and 10 Rillington Place. I think are the first two we're going to do.
Yeah, so one seems kind of silly, and from what I could tell, and the other one looks really kind of like a actual good movie. So I am going to send you guys the list of all of the 80s movies I've seen. And Nate, I want you guys to count and see how many of these you've seen. Because remember, in 2019, I went through and I watched 500 different horror movies. A lot of them from the 80s. It's not. Well, you just have to count. Just make a check mark.
I know.
I don't know how to count.
I don't know how to list things. I'm terrible at it.
You actually do a fine job. Your list of all those French movies got a lot of views today. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
I would actually update it if I redid it, next week, because I've seen more since then.
I think you
should.
should.
You added Irreversible.
Yeah. I mean, it's not quite a horror movie, but it's horrific. So I would totally
pretty horrific. Yeah, Gaspar Noé
Yes.
in general.
Yes.
Like I mentioned, have you seen I Stand Alone? I mentioned that on the post.
Yeah, I saw that. I have not.
So
actually.
there are
Character,
203
the
different horror movies that I got listed here, guys.
we know that the scene in Irreversible with Philip Nihon from High Tension, Butcher, he's kind of sitting there talking to them in one scene in Irreversible.
Right.
The character he plays in Irreversible, I Stand Alone, is all about him, and it's Philippe Nihon, the killer from High Tension, and it's pretty much in the same vein of how it's kind of a hard watch.
1998.
Hard to watch, like Tracy Morgan's movie. Yeah, there's
Found it.
200 movies on the list I just sent you guys, so check it out. Like I said, they have so many streaming on Amazon.
Gasper Note movie too.
Next week we're doing The Lost Boys, and that's it. Anything else, guys, before we go? Seth, you want to say it one more time? Seth, you drop a beat one more time.
Evil dies tonight.
Okay, there we
I'm
go.
gonna say it on the show more times than they say it in that movie. That's my
You already have, I think.
sweet set a record.
It's 40
There
years
you go.
ago.
40 years ago.
All right. Well, you guys have a great evening. Watch some horror tonight. I'm going to watch The Red Queen Kills 7 Times, Italian horror. I love it. And we'll see you next week with The Lost Boys. Boys, have a good night. Nate, we'll see you next week. Seth, do you even read Sutter Cane, bro? Have a good night.